Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Supervisor Wareheim,
Here.
Councilman McCarthy,
Here.
Councilwoman Noack,
Here.
Councilwoman Inzarella. Unmute.
Here.
Councilman Lohman.
Yeah.
Okay, this afternoon we have one site plan. Mr. Trotter, would you like to present that?
Yep. Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the town board. I'm Liam Trotta with the Planning Department, and we have one site plan for the town board to consider, acting as the Board of Site Plan Review. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and present the application. Okay, so the application is called the Bassett, Kaufman and Fort Salonga. It's for proposed 7-Eleven. The subject site is on the north side of 25A, adjacent to the Shell station and across the street from the IGA shopping center. It's the vacant bank. The proposal is for the demolition of a 2,854 square foot vacant bank and the proposed construction of a 2,994 square foot one-story retail building with associated site work. The applicant has agreed to 7 conditions of approval. The first condition is that they obtain applicable permits from the town building department. The second is that they install a tree preservation fence around all trees on site to be preserved. Third condition is that they obtain a highway work permit from the state DOT for improvements along 25A. The fourth condition is that the siding of the principal building shall be a full-size common red brick in lieu of the proposed thin brick veneers depicted on the elevation plans that they submitted. And they just have to submit an updated building material sample of that brick to be used. The fifth condition is that the dumpster enclosure wall shall have a stone cap in lieu of a proposed bronze aluminum coping. The sixth condition is that all rooftop and ground-mounted HVAC and mechanical equipment shall be screened from public view. Additional rooftop screening and/or parapet may be necessary as directed by the planning department. And the last condition is that the conditions of the LWRP coastal consistency determination shall remain in effect. So this is the proposed site plan. Again, they're going to be demoing the existing bank, relocating the new building a little slightly north and to the west of the existing location of the bank. We've done an impervious surface area analysis, so they'll be using actually less impervious surface area than what is existing. This is another version of the site plan. These are the elevation plans. And does the board have any questions?
And you're saying, Liam, they'll be using a different style brick than what's illustrated here?
Correct. What they originally proposed was just a thin brick veneer that would have been posted on, but we're requesting that they use a traditional full-size brick so it has that traditional appeal. We tried to replicate the existing bank building. We wanted the architecture to replicate the existing bank building that is within the historic character of the Fort Salonga area.
Okay, and the applicants agreed to that?
Correct, yes.
All right, thank you.
There's
Any
no
other questions
signage
by the
on the
board?
street, correct?
Excuse me, Councilman?
They're not putting any signage out on the street, correct?
There is a proposed ground sign.
What's that look like?
It's going to have it's got a similar brick monument style base with, I believe, columns on either side of it.
Wisconsin.
Like very similar to the 7-Eleven sign in Wisconsin.
At the intersection of bread and cheese or at the entrance of?
So I don't know if you can see the site plan. The ground sign is going to be right in front, but it's going to be in between.
There you go.
So this is bread and cheese, this intersection right here.
Right.
So the ground sign is going to be right here.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions by the board?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Trotter.
You're welcome.
Okay, we will reconvene as sitting as Board of Water Commissioners. Deputy Clerk.
Okay, we have the minutes approval from the meeting, the Board of Water meeting from January 21st. and to authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with PMG Progressive Marketing Group for DEC compliance newsletters on a form approved by the town attorney and the Smithtown and St. James Water District.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella. Yeah, unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareham.
Yes.
All righty.
All right, we will reconvene as a town board and move to today's agenda. Deputy Clerk, you can begin.
We have an appointment by the supervisor of Dylan Curtin to the Youth Advisory Board, and his term will be from February 26, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. The second item is a public hearing. The town board is going to consider zoning petition 2010-09 by SSC Holdings to change wholesale service industry portion of the property to neighborhood business, and the property is located on the north side of Jericho Turnpike, 781 feet west of Plymouth Boulevard. The applicant's attorney, Vinnie Tremarco, is here to present the zoning.
Okay, very good. Mr. Tremarco.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Wareham and members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. We've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to the town clerk's office. I think it was by 12 o'clock today. This application started in 2013, and it's been around for a while, and basically we wanted to change the zone from WSI, which, as you know, is wholesale service and industry, which really doesn't comport with the uses on the property, nor with actually your new town comprehensive master plan. As the planning department indicated in its memo to you and to my client, this is basically, they call it, the NB is the right size for the existing conditions to most of the appropriate zone. In other words, what we have here are retail uses, and as the doesn't allow retail uses, the uses have been there for a very long time, and that the reason why the planning department has said we think that this should be neighborhood business because it makes sense for the area, what the use is, and also it comports with the master plan. We understand that there are conditions. One of them, the R10 zone portion of the property shall remain and not be disturbed. In other words, we're not going to make an application to use the R10 zone portion, and we're not going to disturb that in any way. We also have to bring into compliance the parking. Either we ask for a variance or we have to extend the parking. I believe we have enough parking, enough space for parking on the side and the rear that's not zoned residential. If you look at the, I don't know if you have a site plan that you could put up, but very vast, probably a little less than half the property will be left in its natural state and as a buffer between the residences that are further to the north. So I believe, given all of these factors, that this is a good zoning for the area, and we ask the board for its favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tramarko. Any questions by the town board? Cole, do we have anyone who wish to be heard on this public hearing?
I do.
Okay, thanks. Just bear with me one second, Melissa. I'll just
Sure.
ask if anybody else wishes to be heard, if you can use the raise your hand button. If you can't find it, just use the chat function and I'll call on you in the order that you were received. With that, Melissa, is it Horal?
Yes.
Okay.
I reside actually in the home that the red line is cutting right through the middle of on your little map. So I have issue with all of this, with adding additional parking, with touching any of the property, because as it exists right now currently, it is a huge issue. 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, my household is awakened by deliveries, by Domino's Pizza, by the carriers going in and out with backup trucks. As it is, we already see through our back windows all of these cars that are parked right here in this parking lot. So if we're talking about extending this area even more, I have great issue. And I'm not quite sure why there's a red line with the zoning going right through the middle of my home, which is a residence.
Mr. Tramarko, are you there?
I am.
Okay, so I think you indicated that you will not be touching any of the R10 to the north. So if you could speak to Mrs. Horal's issue there on what's going on now and what would be going on if the zone is changed.
Well, I think, the issue, if the neighbor is talking about the rear of the property right behind the buildings, I guess that's where the concern is about trucks unloading and loading. One of the things that we could do, the planning department suggested either we expand the parking, and the only place to do it is in the rear, and on the side. If you could, I don't know if Peter could put up the site plan, but there is a side portion to get to the back, and it's about 80 feet wide. We could put some parking there, and we could also ask the Board of Zoning Appeals for a variance. I don't know how else we could correct the situation. We could, as I said, ask for a variance rather than put any more parking, which looks like to me in the rear, because there's really no other place in the front of the building.
Yeah, Vinny, I don't know if you want me to interject. Basically, it's my understanding that there is no interest in expanding the parking. It's just that the use of the property as retail has a higher parking requirement at 1 per 100 than the wholesale business, which was 1 per 250. We would absolutely support and prefer that you go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and request a variance to just reduce it, the parking requirement. We wouldn't want to, again, that's why there's one of the conditions that the R10 portion not be affected, because that is our biggest priority over there, is to protect the residents along Manor Place. To answer the question about the red line going through the house, it's just a drafting error. If you look at, the aerials are taken from many thousands of feet high in the air, and when they're overlaid with the parcel lines, they don't always match up 100%. So that you'll sometimes find a skew where the road lines don't match up with the curb lines and property lines as well. Again, there is no proposal to expand the parking any closer to the residences, and we wouldn't support that. The recommendation is basically that they comply with the parking requirement. We feel the zoning is a better zoning for the property. However, they do need to comply with the parking, and the best method would be going to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
And I'd interject, Mr. Supervisor, that we would absolutely apply to the Board of Zoning Appeals That would be my client's preference also.
Okay.
And one last thing, I'm sorry. We've been trying also to have the property owner make upgrades to the property. There was an exemption application approved for facade renovations to the building. And one of the additional requirements of the zone change would be that landscaping also be installed, not only along the street frontage, but also as needed for buffering.
Can I say anything else? Is
Yes,
this
go
my
ahead.
turn? Okay, yeah, I just wanted to be clear because I thought I heard Mr. Tremarco speak about putting additional parking behind and to the side of the building. And again, I know it's difficult because I could point at the screen and you can't see me pointing at the screen, but that area looks like it's either adjacent or right behind my home. So obviously if we do go for a variance, for the parking, then I will be definitely in attendance about that because that would be an issue for me. Because I understand what you said about R10, but on my picture that I'm seeing on the screen you're presenting, it looks like R10 is kind of part of, north of the area that I'm concerned about. So I just want to make sure that that part that's directly south of R10, but north of the shopping center is untouched.
And if they apply to the Board of Zoning Appeals, every property owner within 200 feet will be notified. And a sign will be posted on Manor Place as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dana Zapata. I'm actually the
Hold on one second, Dana. I just want to make sure that, Melissa, did you have anything left to add?
No, if that's the only issue that we're talking about, and it's not going to, the zoning isn't going to change the hours in which the noise ordinances are going to be adhered to or not, because as far as I can see right now, and excuse me, Mr. Tremarco, nobody is adhering to any. I've been in contact with the town numerous times to see what can be done about this, because it doesn't seem fair to me as a resident and the amount of money we pay in taxes that I should have to be kept up all night and early in the morning hearing trucks and activity in the shopping center. So as long as it's not going to allow the shopping center to operate under those conditions, I would expect that the zoning change would actually keep them from doing that.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Okay, I have Dana Zapata.
Yes, I just wanted to bounce off what Melissa was saying to make sure that the parking was not going to be expanded. We live actually next door to Melissa, and we hear a lot of noises in the back of our house property as well, and people trapezing through the property at all hours of the night, and it's very disruptive, and it's nerve-wracking. So we just want to make sure the zoning isn't being changed as far as the businesses are staying the same and the hours are staying the same.
Nicole, do we
Mr.
have
Supervisor?
anyone else that wishes to? Peter, you want to speak to that?
I don't know anything about any change of hours of operation. It's a shopping center. Mr. Tremarco knows the function of the site better than I do. But clearly there is no intent to expand parking. If anything, we'd be looking to contract the parking, specifically that gravel area in the back that was once used by truck loaders and enterprise rent-a-car. That was one of the issues back in 2013 when this was last presented to the board. If they changed the zone, it made a couple of the existing tenants at the time, one of which was enterprise rent-a-car. They would have been in violation because they wouldn't be permitted in the NV zoning. And they were utilizing that gravel area in the back that's on the aerials shown not in use. So if anything, again, we'd like to decrease the parking in the rear.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Supervisor, Vincent Tremarco, I'd like to speak to the concerns of the neighbors, and the only reason why I even talked about putting parking in the rear was because I felt planning was concerned about it. I'm going to emphasize again, I will make the application for a variance so that we don't have to put any parking anywhere other than where it is right now. And further, I will speak to my client with respect to deliveries, which I'm sure he can speak to his tenants with respect to these very early deliveries to see if they can do them later on in the day. So thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chalko, that's good. And we would ask you to please do that. And then if the residents, they can always get in touch with us. And we can work on those issues with you as well. Nicole, do we have anybody else?
No, I don't have anybody else with their hand up or in chat. I just remind folks during the public portion at the end of the meeting to utilize the raise hand function or the chat function if you'd like to be heard. Thank you, Supervisor.
Okay. Everyone has been heard on the public hearing, so I will move to close the hearing.
Second. Supervisor Wareham,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilman Loman.
Yes.
Okay, Deputy Clerk, we could continue.
Okay, we have two advertisements for public hearings. The first is to authorize the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to be held on Thursday, March 25th at 2 p.m. via Zoom to consider amending Chapter 215 of the Town Code entitled Peddling and Soliciting regarding food trucks, ice cream trucks, and coffee trucks. And the second is to advertise for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, March 9th at 2 p.m. via Zoom to consider amending Chapter 221 of the Town Code entitled Property Maintenance regarding registration of foreclosure mortgages and vacant property.
Councilman Loman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareham.
Yes.
We have consent agendas number 1 to 10 and resolutions number 1 to 4.
Okay, does anyone on the town board wish to remove anything from our consent agenda?
No.
Mr. Pulio?
Okay, Councilman Loman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareham.
Yes.
The town board to issue a secret negative declaration determination in the matter of the application for site plan approval for Vassar Kaufman of Fort Salonga 7-Eleven, located on Route 25A, 200 feet east of Fresh Pond Road in Fort Salonga.
Councilman Loman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareham.
Yes.
Authorize the town clerk to advertise for bid 2117 solar photovoltaic system at Smithtown Landing Country Club and 21-008 fuel for resale at the town marina.
Councilman Loman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareham.
Yes.
Award the following bid and authorize the purchase of the associated goods. RFP number 20-032 for professional engineering services for Landing Avenue roadway and drainage improvements to Nelson and Pope Engineers.
Councilman Loman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareham.
Yes.
The town board to approve the following. Acquisition of a parcel of surplus right-of-way property presently owned by the County of Suffolk on Moreland Road, and request that Suffolk County Legislature approve the conveyance of said parcel pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 72H. Designate the week of May 24th, 2021 as Paige Elizabeth Keeley, RTO Venus Malformations Awareness Week. Designate the month of October as Arterio Venous Malformations Awareness Month in the town of Smithtown. An agreement with the Dime Community Bank as the official depository for the fiscal year 2021 for the Office of the Controller. The rejection of all bids received January 21st, 2021 in connection with bid 20081 for office cleaning services. Extension of bid 19001 for office cleaning services with commercial cleaning through December 31st, 2021. Extension of bid 1919 for automotive rebuilding services with drivetrain truck parts, Jasper Engines, and Transmissions and Motive Parts Company. Sole source supply agreement for traffic signal controllers and related equipment with High Tech Signal Equipment Incorporated. Sole source supply agreement for traffic signal detection agreement with GAC Incorporated doing business as New England Traffic Solutions. The Highway Department to purchase a salt storage structure from Hybrid Building Solution LLC and authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement. The purchase of an 8-meter aluminum hull patrol boat from Metalcraft Marine. The Recreation Department to purchase shade structures for Smithtown Landing from Shade System Incorporated. Authorize the town attorney to commence a small claims action in Suffolk County District Court against Progressive Insurance and/or its insured, Michael Kraus, for an accident which occurred on May 1st, 2020, causing damage to town property. Appointment of Liz Giordano, John Lessard, Jackie Sims, Joan Vitale, Michael Musso, and Laura Grief to serve on the Office for People with Disability Advisory Board from February 26, 2021 through December 31st, 2022, and appoint Laura Grief as ADA Coordinator from February 2nd, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. Maureen Fiorella, Director of School-Age Childcare and Designated Staff, to attend the Child Care Council of Nassau Incorporated Conference. A termination of agreement with CalAmp Wireless Network Corporation regarding GPS services for town residential refuse vehicles effective March 24th, 2021. And the last is to extend the availability of the Town of Smithtown Special Pay IRS Section 401A Bencor accounts to all full-time exempt non-union employees.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes. Excuse me.
Councilwoman Noack. Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
Authorize the exception of donation from Rosalind Palazzo in the amount of $90 and Lucille Thompson in the amount of $18 to the Senior Citizen Center.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
Authorize the supervisor to execute the following on a form approved by the town attorney.
Yeah.
An amendment to the agreement with Katie Donigans Incorporated to reflect that the licensee shall pay the town license fees in the amount of $3,000 and to extend said agreement for an additional term from May 15th, 2021 through October 15th, 2021.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
And personnel items number 1 through 4 that are described on the agenda.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes. That concludes resolutions on the agenda. And Deputy Clerk, we have one site plan, so sitting as Board of Site Plan Review.
Okay, we have the site plan minutes approval from February 9th and conditionally approved the site plan that was previously described by Liam Trotta in the beginning of the meeting for Vassar Kaufman of Fort Salonga 711 to the proposed demolition of a 2,854 square foot bank and the proposed construction of a 2,994 square foot one-story retail building with associated site work. The location is the north side of Route 25, 200 feet east of Fresh Pond Road in Fort Salonga.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes. That concludes site plan. Before we move to the public portion, I'd like to indicate that both of our March board meetings, March 9th and March 25th, will be held via Zoom at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. That being said, Nicole, do we have anyone who wishes to be heard in the public portion?
No, Supervisor.
Okay, then I will move to close the meeting.
Second.
Supervisor Wareheim,
Yes,
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilwoman Anzarella,
Yes.
Councilman Loman.
Yes.
okay, thank you all for attending. Everybody please stay safe and we'll talk soon.